I can feel this. It's okay to feel this. It's not pleasant, but I'm not dying. I feel alive by having this pain. If you can avoid pain medication, do it. It's better to avoid it. It's definitely harder to regret that and go away from it later. If you can find something else to do with the pain, but ultimately you're going to have to lean on your support network, on the love in your life, and figure out how to just accept the pain. That's sadly where we are until there's a breakthrough that helps fix this issue in our bodies.
Welcome to Beyond the Pain, the podcast that explores what it really takes to break free from chronic pain and reclaim your life. I'm your host, Leigh Brandon, and someone who's spent over 2 decades helping people get to the root cause of pain that no one else could explain. Whether you're dealing with long-term back issues, joint pain, nerve discomfort, or mysterious symptoms that just won't go away, this show is here to help you go deeper. Because beyond the pain, there's clarity, strength, and power waiting for you. Each week, we'll uncover the physical, emotional, biochemical, and energetic causes of pain and how to transform them. Let's dive deep into this week's episode. In today's episode, I'm joined by Daniel Rodgers, who shares his personal journey of living with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, also known as EDS. Daniel opens up about what it was like growing up, not realizing that pain, injuries, and joint instability he experienced were not actually normal. We talk about how his symptoms progressed over time, the major setbacks he faced, including serious knee dislocations and surgery, and the long road to finally receiving an explanation for what was really going on. This is a powerful conversation about chronic pain, hypermobility, misdiagnosis, resilience, and what it takes to adapt when your body does not function the way most people expect it to. Daniel also shares the emotional side of living with a condition that is often misunderstood, along with some valuable insights for anyone who suspects they may be dealing with EDS themselves or is supporting someone who is. So let's get into it. Daniel, welcome to Beyond the Pain. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on. And Daniel, can you tell us your journey and how it's led to you doing what you do today?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I guess when I was young, trying to just be a normal kid, I didn't really think anything was out of the norm. I definitely had some quirks. People have quirks, hypermobility being mine. Like, some people think double jointed, you can bend your arms in real weird ways, do the party trick, things like that. For me, I noticed that I always crack my knuckles, crack my neck. I would always have this acute pain. I would kind of pop my joints and things like that. It would annoy my parents. They would say, "Hey, stop that. Stop cracking your knuckles all the time." Myths about, you're going to cause damage and things like that. But, as a kid, you don't think much about it. As I start getting older, metabolisms are changing, right? I was a really skinny, kind of tall kid. As I'm getting older, I'm gaining weight. There's more weight on my joints. I still have these bad habits of kind of cracking knuckles and stuff like that. I started, experiencing injuries that I never really had. I was a really active kid. I played football, American football. I played baseball. I played tennis, lots of sport. Really got into it. And as an adult, in my 20s, I was working really hard. I was trying to get out of debt, trying to make something of myself. And I made some moves career-wise. I ended up working at Microsoft, big American company, ended up moving out west, trying to live a dream. And, when you're working at these tech companies, they'll sometimes have sport teams and stuff. So I remember playing softball, just like a kind of co-ed softball league, right? And I was good. I was still able to do the things I used to do in high school. I'm like able to slide, catch balls, hit balls, do all that good stuff. But I noticed that I'm experiencing a lot more pain. It wasn't acute pain anymore. I'd feel the pain even when I wasn't playing. And I was playing like ultimate frisbee one time. My entire ankle just rolled completely out under me. It swelled so badly. I had to ice it for over a day just to get it back down, and it kept happening. I just walk and I'd roll an ankle, or my elbow would just kind of almost like come out of the joint, or my shoulder, someone would like grab my shoulder, it would kind of pop low, and I'm noticing that my pain is becoming more chronic, and I wasn't really understanding why. And one time playing softball, I'm just swinging the baseball bat, just swinging. I actually was in the middle of swinging towards the ball, and my knee completely comes out of the joint, just pops out, full dislocation. I fall to the plate. I'm on the ground. The knee is just popped out. The patella is just like pointing. You can see it pointing in the skin, and I just can't get up. Like, I'm fully dislocated on the ground. No one really understands. They just saw me fall. I wasn't hit by the ball. People were a little confused. The catcher, a younger woman, was kind of looking at me there, and she saw me kind of holding my leg, and she's like, "Oh, I see. Let me help." And so she comes over and she hits my kneecap with her hand, trying to push it back in to place. That actually shattered my patella, like
Oh,
actually broke the kneecap. Now, at that point, you don't see the protruding bone as much, but it's all swelling like a balloon. I still can't get up. So people dragged me off the diamond to the benches, called an ambulance because I just was sitting there. They still didn't really understand what was going on. And I said, "No, this is really bad. I can't stand. I'm in a lot of pain. I think I need to go to hospital." Ambulance comes, they immediately know it's serious. They cut the pant leg off. They start to try to treat it. They take me to a hospital, and they're like, "Yeah, you fully dislocated your own joint just through the own motion of your body." And so, I still don't really understand the mystery of what's happening with my body, like my whole life and all this stuff. It hasn't clicked yet, but that was weird. Well, long story short, I go through a major recovery, major surgeries. The kneecap had shattered, right? So they had to replace some. They replaced any pieces they could, but you couldn't replace all the pieces. So they took out some. They replaced what they could, and then I'm going through a year of physical therapy. They were telling me I'll never really walk again. I'll have to use a cane the rest of my life, that kind of thing. I'm a really stubborn guy. I'm like, no, I will definitely walk without a cane again. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm working really hard at physical therapy. Well, long story short version is a year into physical therapy, I dislocate my left knee, the opposite knee, while doing an exercise. So I'm trying to work out core stability. My left knee comes out. This time I don't let anyone touch it. I was like, leave me alone, hands off. And the ambulance comes. They take me, and I'm in the ER, and I'm explaining to them that this happened before, but it was a major, major damage resulted from how it was relocated. And they said, "No, don't, you don't have to worry about that." They had me kind of roll while they twisted, and we were able to get it relocated, kind of working together, and that was great. But two knee dislocations within a little over a year period. I had major ankle issues. I had a scare with my shoulder. So I'm talking to a primary care physician about all this, and I'm just like, is this normal? Like, it doesn't feel normal. I also had been reporting major hand pain off to this doctor for years. Kind of like, oh, heat it. Maybe you have arthritis. Oh, no, all the arthritis tests are negative. You don't have arthritis. That's weird. Let's keep testing for it. So finally, the doctor went, maybe you have this thing called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. And he pulls out a book, physically pulls out a book and starts leafing through it. Says, this is what it starts reading about it. And I'm like, well, sounds like it could be it. So he sends me to a rheumatologist. Now, the thing you have to know about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is, one, there's 13 types. There's no genetic marker. So they can't just do a blood test and say, yes, you have this. So what they typically do is have a rheumatologist do this thing called a bite test, which is kind of like a physical, where they see, can you touch your hands to your feet in ways that you shouldn't be able to? Can you bend your fingers and hands in ways you shouldn't be able to? And how
Mm.
far can you do that? How far is your hypermobility, basically? And they scored at a 9. It's a 9 level index. I was scored as an 8 out of 9.
That's the Baton scale, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they scored me as an 8 out of 9. I went to a second rheumatologist to get another diagnosis. They also diagnosed me with the same thing. So I hate to say this, but I was lucky because I got the diagnosis so easily. The truth is, a lot of people, they don't know how common Ehlers-Danlos is, but they do say it's commonly misdiagnosed. People miss it a lot. So people are coming and self-reporting things, and a lot of times the doctors won't listen or believe them, or they think, oh, okay, you're saying you have this pain, it could be this thing, go treat this other symptom. So for me, though, I was able, they listened to me, they saw it, they had all the evidence. I majorly hurt myself multiple times. Sadly, I think my injuries was enough evidence for them, and plus the Vitan scale, it showed it to them, so they were able to give me my diagnosis. But what I didn't realize is the lifelong journey I would go on, dealing with educating myself, because there was so little understanding in the medical community about this syndrome, how to treat it, what to do about it, and just how to be a person living with chronic pain for literally the rest of my life, which is what the situation I'm now in.
Mm. Yeah, for the audience, if someone has never heard of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, how would you define it to them?
Well, it's a heritable systemic connective tissue disorder. So it's actually a multisystemic syndrome. It's actually caused by a defect in collagen. So it's not that my body doesn't have collagen; it does. It's just the protein. Collagen is the protein in your body that kind of acts like the glue in your body, but my body doesn't know how to use it. It's like the blueprint's broken. The way I describe this to like friends and stuff is, if you imagine your body as a house, the wood is strong in my body, but the nails that hold everything together are not. They're like rubber. And so my joints are always kind of shifting and leaning and trying to keep my body together. But because those nails are so flexible, it forces my muscles to do the work to hold everything together, to hold the walls up 24/7. So my muscles are always working, always trying to stabilize my joints. And because of that, it leads to like this profound exhaustion and pain, because the body's never resting. The nerves are constantly triggered. And there's this this thing called proprioception, which is like where your internal senses are discombobulated, because like it's how we sense where our limbs are, like where our hand is, where our leg is, or whatever. If someone with EDS, because of these issues, it's that system's not working properly. It's like it's always kind of blurred, and because of that, it can cause like pinched nerves and stretched nerves and this kind of static and burning or tingling, and in my case, like pinching feelings, which keeps your body in a high alert mode. That's the best way I can explain it. It is genetic. So my daughter has it, I have it, my mother has it. And so sadly, this is something that gets passed along, and it's, like I said, there's no like treatment for it, not really.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. You say your mother had it.
Mhm.
Did she know that she had it? Because obviously you were suffering, but yet there was no, oh yeah, don't worry, that I know I've got this as well, kind of thing.
No, she had dislocated joints in her life. She had had surgeries because of that, and she was always in pain. But she actually had arthritis. Because she had arthritis, they always focused on that, acting like that was the cause of a lot of her pain. After my diagnosis, I begged her to go and talk and go in, and she did get a positive diagnosis for it as well. Now, the thing about Ehlers-Danlos, I mean, like I said, there's 13 types. I have the hypermobility type. It's called HEDS. It's actually the most common of the types. It's not, again, I'm not double jointed. I don't have two joints, but like I'm very stretchy in ways. That's the way to kind of think about it. She had that same type, and I knew what to look for with my daughter. I knew that if she was showing acute pain, if she was showing hypermobility and things like that, that likely she would have it. And that has been honestly the toughest thing is to watch my daughter, who's now 15, like reporting some of these things that I've been afraid to watch for. Now we're humans, we look for pattern recognitions. I'm hoping maybe I'm overlooking, but so far it is looking like she has a lot of those things as well.
Mm. So when you say there are 13 different types, what are the other
Um,
types?
yeah, some of them are very uncommon, but I would say the other two ones that are more common is the vascular type, and there's a skin elasticity type.
Mm.
Which is quite interesting, where the skin actually is very flexible and you can actually kind of pull it away from the body. And, there are people who have this. Jamelia Jamil has the stretchy skin aspect where it's like, we'll actually show it. Billie Eilish has HEDS, for instance. She's an American singer. And she even said that her diagnosis of hypermobility was the reason that she did not pursue her dance career, instead went into singing. So this is a very real thing. A lot of people deal with it, but the vascular one is life threatening, and that one's very scary. I live in chronic pain. I have hypermobility. I have to wear braces when I go and do many things. I have a hard time like being able to travel long distances, being on a plane, doing things. So it limits my life, but I don't feel like it's threatening my life in the way like the vascular type would.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you actually, how does it affect you day to day? I mean, is there other things, other ways in which it affects you day to day? You are not broken. Pain isn't a punishment, it's communication. One of the clearest messages your body sends is through inflammation. When you nourish yourself in a way that supports your gut and immune system, pain naturally becomes easier to manage. The Pain Free Plate shows you 7 foods that help bring your body back towards balance. And you can download it for free at bodycheck.co.uk/pain free plate. Now, let's get back into the conversation.
Yeah, I would say like the first part of that is just what it did to my mindset. Like my whole life, I thought my steady state was normal, like what everyone else experienced. It was very eye opening when I realized, oh, it's not normal to feel like this. And it's really terrible. And so I went through what you might expect someone who's realizing they're dealing with chronic pain their whole life is going to go through, like the depression, the anger, isolation. I went through all that. It's horrible. A lot of withdrawal. You don't feel like you can talk about it. You can't share it. You don't want to burden people. When I was younger, I did try to lean on others and I felt like it just made people uncomfortable. And so I would just withhold it and try to carry that. That was very difficult. I feel like those were the worst, darkest years of my life. Now it's a part of me. I instead of hoping there'll be a cure or a fix, I try to embrace it as okay, as just like a mentally, I'm all right. I can feel this. It's okay to feel this. It's not pleasant, but I'm not dying. I feel alive by having this pain. This does mean I am alive. And because of that, maybe I still withhold, to be honest. I don't talk about it. I don't share it. That's the most I've talked about it in years, to be honest. But I don't feel like it's defining my relationships with people. It's not, I don't have a resentment to anyone for not being more interested about it or checking on me or doing any of that stuff the way I used to feel. But I do have to be careful. I went on a road trip with my uncle and we went through Grand Canyon and Sedona and a bunch of places through the United States. Had a lot of hiking. I'm not hiking is there's a big list of things you're not supposed to do when you have this. Hiking is on the list, but I want to be able to live my life. Yes, I will not play racquetball, even though I'd love to. I will keep that. I won't do that one. But yeah, I want to be able to hike. So I got special knee braces, the kind that quarterbacks use in pro sports. And I had to monitor my body. And I have to realize that I can't push past a limit. Because if I do, not only do I risk serious injury, but the recovery time is ridiculous. If I go too far doing activity, it knocks me out for over 24 hours. like my body just shuts down. It's exhausted because it's like you're fighting the pain, you're fighting the activity, and then they have that recovery on top of everything. I've also even been to the point where I put myself in the hospital multiple times because I pushed my body too hard. And this was happening at work. I'd work long hours, I'd be traveling, I would do all the stuff that, quote unquote, normal person would do. As soon as the work trip was over, I was in the hospital. Happened to me twice. I had to take a medical leave from work because I had to get myself back in shape after working myself too hard. So it could really seriously impact your life. And to be honest, some people who have what I have, they just don't leave the house. They sit in a recliner. They wear braces everywhere they go. They do zero activity. They just try not to move. But I want to live my life. So I do a lot of exercise. I'm trying to adapt my body and my mind to be able to live like this.
Mm. So what kind of exercise besides hiking, what are you able to do?
I bike like crazy. Biking is a low impact activity that I can change resistant levels on. My legs are very strong because I bike so often. I no longer work, and so I'm able to do my exercise routine very frequently. And so I'm biking a minimum of an hour a day. Swimming is another great one. I don't have easy
Mm,
access to a swimming pool. That is maybe the number one activity for someone with what I
mm,
have should do would be go swimming. When I had access to a pool, I was taking my young kids there. We could swim like 2 or 3 times a week. That was great. So things like that, swimming and biking, anything that where you're not having an impact. Hitting the ground hard, running is terrible for what I did. I'll be honest, I run sometimes. Like if I'm like, there's a treadmill, I will still do it, but I really shouldn't be doing that. But you have to be careful and you have to know your body, you have to know your limits. And yeah, otherwise you really can hurt yourself.
mm. What about resistance training?
So when I was doing physical therapy, I remember them asking, what was my goals? And I actually said I would like to do some resistance training, and they worked with me to do some of that. So I've done that in a monitored situation, and it was great. It was really great.
Mm,
I don't have an easy way to do that. I think right now I do have like a TRX where I can use my own body weight.
mm,
So that's actually really great because my own body weight, is something that's very constant and is close enough. But yeah, I think that's generally okay. But like again, I was not always recommended.
mm. Yeah, I can imagine it could easily overload the joint as well, right? You'd have to do it
Yes.
in a very controlled environment.
Yeah. And like
But
you're not supposed to do, for instance, yoga. Yoga is bad. It's like
yeah,
never touch yoga.
yeah,
I really struggle with like people love to tell me to do like meditation. But I tell you, a chronic pain person trying to do meditation when your joints get inflamed by sitting in one place for too long, I don't know how you're supposed to do that.
mm,
I feel like I'm a failure for not being able to figure it out because everyone says that's going to fix everything, and I've
mm.
tried, I can't do it. But yeah, yoga is really bad. And even massages, massages are so painful for me.
Wow.
Like it's just like a torture. It's really tough.
Mm. What do you like? You mentioned swimming because that was one thing I was going to mention because
Yeah,
obviously it takes a lot of load off when you're in water.
yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
tried something like meditation, like in a bath or in a hot tub or anything like that?
I haven't. Um, that could be okay because what
Mm,
I've noticed is what you have to do is you have to distract your mind from the. Uh, whenever I think, if I'm not distracted, I play video games. That's what helps me the most, to be honest. Video games helps me a ton because it distracts my mind fully. But if I am not distracted, my brain goes right to that pain. It's impossible to ignore it. And it's like this slippery slope. So maybe if I'm not feeling as much pain because I'm floating, especially if it's a hot kind of water, heat works really well, I find, for my joints. If I go to a hot climate, I'm way more comfortable than I am if I'm not in a hot climate. And
mm.
so for vacations and stuff, I prefer to go to like a hot beach or some area like that because it actually feels better. I love saunas. Saunas are great. Hot areas, like hotter the better. It's almost like I'm just trying to nuke the nerves so I don't feel what they're trying to tell me to feel.
So you like hot and you live in Washington State.
I know, horrible, so dumb.
Sounds like
Well,
you should be in the opposite corner of the US in
you're right.
Florida.
I'll rectify that one day.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I have a family member with fibromyalgia and she
Mm,
loves being in the hot tub.
yeah, yeah, too. It does make a difference. Now, it's all temporary, of course, but any temporary relief from chronic pain is great.
Mm.
Honestly, I would not wish this on anybody. And sometimes I tell myself I'm lucky because it's me. Because if I'm keeping it from somebody, then that's good. Like I can handle this. It's okay. But I would not want the idea that like my daughter has it just crushes me. I hate that thought so much.
Mm. The other thing as well, and again, you might tell me, that wouldn't touch the sides kind of thing, but you can get certain music at certain
Mhm.
frequencies that
Yes.
allegedly does help with pain.
Uh-huh.
Um, so in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, okay, you're in a hot tub, you got this music on, doing meditation, because the other thing as well, what I'm thinking, based on what you said, your muscles are working overtime because they're probably trying to stabilize the joint, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously the collagen's not doing its job, so
Right.
it's on full alert all the time, which is probably why it's sapping your energy. But also, when you look at what is pain, pain is a danger signal, right? It's trying to warn you of danger. So if your joints are constantly thinking, I can't stabilize,
Yeah.
that constant danger signal is constant, right? Um, and so one of the things I try to do with people in chronic pain is to try and calm that signal. Um, but I guess most of the people I work with, the signal is, let's just say, it's being overly sensitive. There's no real danger there, but the signal is still there.
Yeah.
But
I
the difference in your case with EDS is that there is danger there because you're unable to stabilize your joints. So it's almost like, well, how do you switch that off?
I did try. Maybe not exactly as effective as maybe the therapy you're thinking of, but I ended up with uh, a really really bad TMJ because of my jaw was literally popping out,
Mm,
and so as I would chew, that hypermobility of my chewing was actually like some people might have normal popping and clicking
that's not
there.
normal. Popping and clicking is not normal.
Okay, well, I have it. So it's not normal. I guess I would like to think it's normal, but yeah, I have that really bad, and I also have the extension. And it got to a point where, like, I was told that I would likely unhinge my jaw, and so I was really worried about having to have my jaw like dislocated and then wired back. And so I started seeing, different therapists and trying to work on that and get that in good shape. And then throughout all that, learning, I have like I have like 55 different PT exercises. I have so many and OT exercises, like a whole workbook of them. Anyways, I'm learning all these different things and, some of it's helping a bit. I'm strengthening my mouth, but somewhere throughout that, I developed a worse tendonitis or tinnitus, the ringing.
Mm,
Right. So I started getting this lightning up my jaw to my ear and then is really, really loud buzzing. And so I started seeing a professional audiologist and they're like, yeah, for your age, wouldn't expect it's as bad as it is. And, this could be a result of your condition. And so, anyways, I was bringing all that up because they wanted to try an audio electrical treatment on me. It's a device called the linear, but it's basically like it's almost like a kind of like a little a tongue compressor that do electrical stimuli on the tongue, like you put it in your mouth, and you have headphones, and so it's playing sounds and almost like music, almost like video game music, honestly, while shocking different parts of your tongue to try to rewire the brain's loop when it comes to the receptors of what you're feeling. And it takes months. Like I did this thing for many, many months, trying and for like over an hour a day, trying to rewire my brain to solve this tinnitus and help with some of the EDS. It didn't work for me at all, sadly. I heard it might work for some people, but I think my stuff is so extreme that I am just happy that I could get my jaw restabilized, even though now I live with this extremely loud like noise all the time on top of the pain.
So do you get that, like when you open and close your mouth, you get like a popping
Yeah,
sensation?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
don't
can
try and
hear
do
it.
it.
You might want to edit that out. I don't know if you don't want to hear that, but yes,
No, yeah,
absolutely.
it probably won't come out on the recording, but
Okay.
because obviously in the temporomandibular joint, there's a disc
Yeah.
that sits in there, and every time it pops, it's not doing that disc any good. So
No, and you can actually, like if you were in the room, you'd hear it loudly
yeah,
and you could almost see it, right?
yeah.
So yeah, there are exercises you can do to kind of like get some of the tension and inflammation off of that and tighten it up. And so I sometimes when it's really bad, I'll just do like in the shower, I'll be doing this like kind of PT on my jaw just to try to keep it. And thankfully I know that, but I'll tell you, I'll wake up sometimes. Now sleeping is the worst. I'll wake up sometimes and my neck, like the vertebrae in my neck is not where they're supposed to be. They're sublimated. And so I won't be able to turn my head all the way. And I'll go through my day not being able to look at people. I'll have to like turn my body to talk to people. And one of the physical therapists showed me a trick where I could literally take a towel and like relocate my neck. That's the kind of stuff I got to deal with.
Yeah.
My body just won't stay where it's supposed to be.
You know, there's a technical term for that.
Oh no.
It's called chiropractic masturbation.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, apparently I got a problem with that.
That is the technical term. But yeah, I mean the jaw and the upper cervical spine are very closely related.
Yeah,
Not just in location, but neurologically as well.
yeah.
So if you've got an issue with the jaw, you're probably going to have an issue with the neck as well.
It's all so interconnected. It
Yeah.
really all feels that way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So living with EDS obviously means invisible limitations because people can't see it in you. How did you adapt and still find ways to excel in life while dealing with the ongoing pain and physical constraints?
Yeah, I mean, there's the physical aspect. Like I said, I didn't want to walk with a cane for the rest of my life. So I just did the training to get to the point where my muscles were strong enough to stabilize my joints. So now I can run up and down stairs. If I had to, I could, lift weights. I can run or canoe or whatever I want to do. You would think I'm just an in shape person for my age is what you would think. That was a lot more effort because I was doing all that while in chronic pain, doing that kind of exercise. Like your body's telling you not to exercise because it's already in pain and it's saying you're going to regret it for doing this, but it's worth it because my muscles are everything. Like without my muscles stabilizing my joints, they're in worse pain. Sadly, I have to take pain medication. And so the thing about pain medication is it doesn't really treat anything other than the symptoms. And it has bad side effects and addictive nature and all kinds of stuff to it. I've been a very good pain medication patient, but that doesn't change the fact that I have to take, narcotics to be able to live my life as a normal person. Don't love that, especially for someone in their early 40s. Not great. I also learned how to do small things. Like there are certain supplements that actually help. For instance, magnesium, that does actually help reduce some of the muscle cramping in my body, especially my legs. I will get a lot of I don't know if Charlie horse is the right word. I don't know if that translates, but it's where the kind of calf feels like it's twisting or it's like the muscle's firing really hard. It's like a really strong cramp in the leg. I get those a lot. And so the magnesium helps with that. It also helps block some of the pain receptors. Vitamin C is mandatory. Like you have to be a vitamin C for any kind of collagen synthesis in your body anyways. Electrolytes are really good, especially because other things typically get diagnosed with EDS, which you didn't touch on, which is like POTS. POTS is a really common one. Also, MCAS, but I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So gastrointestinal issues are very common with HEDS. I have that. So fun, stomach issues on top of everything else. And then, just all the PT stuff, because you got to realign your body, but you can't go to a chiropractor. Like
Mm.
chiropractor bad.
Mhm.
So, chiropractors will act like, yes, I'm the one that can treat this, but when they try to realign you, even if they do it right, they're forcing extra strain on your body, and it's
Yeah.
actually can cause real damage.
Yeah. I know when people go to things like chiropractic school, they do end up being more, I was going to say hypermobile. That doesn't necessarily mean to be hypermobile. They generally are more mobile because they've had so many adjustments. It does actually create instability if you have too many corrections.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you're already unstable, the last thing you want is to be more unstable, right?
yeah, exactly. Your body's already confused enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
things like that. Heat helps. I mentioned heat before too. Heat. Sometimes I will like literally wear like a heat on my hands. The other thing is spine and neck get out of alignment easily. People really love these pillows. These come up a lot, but these are these like plush pillows that people love. There's the squishable ones. In my community, they love those things, and I get it. I actually have one too. It'll form, kind of conform around your neck or your joint or your back, and it can actually be great. Biggest thing I got though for my quality of life was an adjustable bed, almost like a hospital kind of bed, but I can change the head and the leg of the bed to my spine needs, and I sleep properly. Because if I go to a hotel, there is no hotel in this world I sleep comfortable in. I don't care how expensive it is because it's flat. And that's always been torture for me.
mm, yeah. Yeah. I guess you have to think about absolutely everything you do, right? It's like, you know, someone like myself, I can just go and do whatever I want to do. I don't have to think about anything really. Just how do I get there, right? But with you, it's almost, almost everything you have to think, okay, how am I going to do this, right? You deserve to feel in control of your health and not overwhelmed by it. Most people are given exercises, medications, or generic advice without ever being told why their pain exists. My approach is different. I help you understand your own body, what it's reacting to, and how to create the conditions for healing. If you're ready for that level of clarity and support, you can book a discovery call at bodycheck.co.uk/consultation. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, like I have to take medications too. I mean, I mentioned the pain stuff, but there's other medications I'm supposed to take, and like I have to make sure I have those with me. If I don't take them, it's very horrible on my body. So it's like my whole life, I have to work it around medication schedules. I hate that so much. Like I don't want to take anything. Like I'm okay with supplements, but I don't want to take medications. But I know at this point that I can't operate without some of these. Like I would not sleep
Mm,
without some of the medications I'm on. Like I would, they we did a sleep study, and they do basically create these sleep graphs. So they monitor you overnight, and every time you break REM, they call it an arousal. You've been aroused from sleep. Mine's just spiking. It's like constant. It's all red up and down spikes. It's like, yeah, you didn't sleep at all. Like, okay,
mm,
so pretty much I didn't sleep for almost a decade until I
mm.
finally got medication that actually helped me. Basically, the pain is still there at night. I'm just not waking from it. So it like keeps me comatose enough. It was horrible, to be honest. Like my poor wife would actually wake up sometimes with like bruises on her legs from where my knees would crash into her because I'm flat thrashing around in the bed in pain. The blankets are everywhere. It looks like I was a boxing match. I wake up feeling that way too. Like I was
Mm,
literally fighting for my life all night. Like
mm.
it's really rough to be in chronic pain like that all the time. You're in a fight or flight mode quite often.
Yeah, and I guess the pain medication doesn't help if you've got gut issues as well, right?
Oh yeah,
It's
sure.
almost going to be
Like sometimes
compounding.
the symptoms are way worse than what I've treated, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
new
then
side
if
effects come out.
I guess if you've got leaky gut syndrome, now you've got extra inflammation in the body as well.
Yep.
So
I get
it's yeah.
constipation, bleeding, um, nausea. Like I've had everything at this point. At one point, I felt like I was just a guinea pig. They were just trying stuff on me. Like, do this one, do this one. But the problem is, the more you do, there's like a matrix. So each one impacts another one, and that might
Mm,
impact another one. And it was too complicated. No one
mm,
really could figure it out. So I had to go and I created data. I used data and I have a sheet. I can actually, I can send it to you if you're interested. It's super interesting, but I tracked what was affected, what wasn't affected, how much I took, when did I take it. And I basically used that to work with a team of doctors. Now I was working at Microsoft and Google, so I had good medical insurance. Now, most people who have this, they are struggling. They can't afford the bills. They can't get help. I was lucky. So I got all that. And so I give it to people like, hey, let me shortcut you here. I collected some data. These are the vitamins that work for me, at least. The medications that work for me. Here's the things you should avoid. Because sadly, some doctors don't really know how to treat this. And they'll kind of
mm,
go, oh, you take this might block your nerve pain. Well, it's more complicated than that. Blocking lower nerve pain doesn't treat the whole body, right? And so all you've done is isolate the pain to a different part of the body. So I'd experienced stuff like that.
mm. So it sounds like you were kind of using your skills as an engineer
Yeah,
to kind of work out, okay, how do I kind of crack the code, if you like, on this
yes,
condition?
very much. Yeah, I track everything. I
Yeah.
have like spreadsheets for everything. I mean, I can tell you the year and month of any diagnosis that I got. I went for, I had Ehlers-Danlos diagnosed, then thoracic outlet syndrome, TMJ, tinnitus, irritable bowel syndrome, and then chronic fatigue syndrome. All diagnosed with different doctors, different times. And then what medications? I have a list of physical therapy treatments and medications. I mean, this thing spans 50 rows of medications they've had me try. Not just that, procedures. I've tried everything from prolozone injections to cognitive behavioral therapy to proximal nerve surgery. So,
Mm.
it's not like I didn't try to find a solution for this thing, but it was all really for nothing.
So what kind of treatments or approaches have helped you, and which ones kind of didn't work?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying these are things I personally tried and I thought worked okay for me. But I did end up taking gabapentin. I find that worked well for me, especially when I was taking it with nortriptyline. These are two different types of medications, but for me, taking those in the evening do help me sleep. Lately, though, I've been moving to like a duloxetine, which like Cymbalta, which is like another nerve pain treating medication, which I may use instead of the nortriptyline. But the point is, like nerve pain medication can help. It dims, dulls the nerves, and also can help treat. It has a sedating effect, basically, is what it's doing. So it's sedating the body to dull the nerve pain to allow you to relax a little bit more.
Mm,
Be honest, a lot of people just do marijuana and that works. I did marijuana for a couple of years. It actually works fine. It completely helps the mind disassociate with it. But these are kind of the things, the medications I just mentioned are alternative to that. And then also there's the actual pain medications. On top of that, I had to take testosterone. People with chronic pain, especially men, typically end up with lower testosterone levels. So I have to inject testosterone into my body every week. What I can tell you what doesn't work is things like steroid creams or topical creams, putting collagen supplements into your body. That stuff, none of that will work. Not
mhm,
even worth the time. So, and the rest of it is just based on your individual needs. Some people might need iron, or vitamin B12 or things like that. So I always usually recommend people to go do the full blood work and find out where their sensitivities are. Because for me, I'm sensitive to like gluten and stuff like that because of my gut. So I had to go figure all those things out and adapt my lifestyle and my diet, everything to that.
Were there things that treatments or procedures that you tried that made things worse?
I mean, the uh, prolozone treatments weren't fun. They're basically injecting stuff into my joints and it
Mm,
balloons your joints up. So, like, they would inject these things in your hands or your knees, it balloons them up. Did not do anything for me. I did tons of those injections. That was definitely on the experimental side of things for sure. I just wanted to try something different. I did a nerve surgery because I went to a specialist, a hand specialist, top one in the state, maybe in the Pacific Northwest. He did all these X-rays. He's like, "Your nerves are a mess. No wonder you're in pain all the time." He wanted to go in and actually, um, basically simplify the nerves by removing a blockage in there, and he did that in both my arms. Pretty invasive surgery for no noticeable effect whatsoever. So yeah, I honestly, any surgery or procedure, I just generally think is not worth it. I think this
mm,
is not something you're going to fix physically
mm.
in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the old saying, if the only tool you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes.
So if you go to the surgeon,
Yeah.
what's the solution?
I figured as much as well, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is coming. But he really convinced me. He really seemed confident he was going
Mm,
to fix it. So
yeah.
I was pretty desperate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's the case with that particular surgeon because obviously
Yeah,
I don't know the situation, but
sure.
um, you know, if if the bill's coming for your child's private education, you know, and that's what you do for a living, you're going to convince people, right?
Yeah, talks
Um,
a good game.
but there's like, in every field, there's people that are good and there's people that are not so good, right? And you know, someone I know who used to be an orthopedic surgeon, he would only operate on about 5% of his patients, right? As you said, he's a terrible businessman, but he was a very good surgeon. Um,
Probably sleeps well.
yes, yeah. Um, he's no longer in medical establishment because he has ethics, but that's a
Yeah,
whole nother story. He's been on the show a couple of times, so
nice,
my
nice.
regular listeners will know who I'm talking about. So for someone listening who might suspect that they have EDS, what do you think they need to understand about the pain, movement, and recovery that often gets missed?
First of all, I'm sorry. And it's real. Don't someone's trying to convince you you're too young for it, or it's in your head. You know your body. You know what's going on. That's first. Um, it's hard. Your journey is going to be your own. There are things you can do to protect yourself from injury. There are precautions worth taking. Find a good pair of braces you don't mind wearing because braces are uncomfortable. They're not fun to wear all the time, but they could literally save you from the worst years of your life. If you can avoid pain medication, do it. It's better to avoid it. It's definitely harder to regret that and go away from it later. If you can find something else to do with the pain, but ultimately, you're going to have to lean on your support network, on the love in your life, and figure out how to just accept the pain. That's sadly where we are until there's a breakthrough that
Mm,
helps fix this issue in our bodies. But yeah, sadly, again, it's just so misunderstood and for whatever reason hard to diagnose. And a lot of people go through trauma just getting a recognition of what their lived experience is, but it doesn't make it any less real.
mm. I can imagine perhaps some people might get misdiagnosed with something like
Mm,
fibromyalgia or
yeah,
polymyalgia when actually they have EDS. I don't know if you've,
or both.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you come across anything like that?
Like I said, it's so common to have an EDS plus one of these other ones that normally when it's happened with me with thoracic outlet syndrome. Once they saw TOS, they're like, oh, that's it. And then they want EKGs, everything on TOS. And that's fine, right? If there's something there, let's go treat that. But it doesn't take away the other thing. That doesn't explain the hypermobility.
Mm,
So, and look, and if you're double jointed, that does not mean you have hypermobility EDS. And, you can be hypermobility EDS and be double jointed. Like they're not, they can be two separate things. So
mm,
just because you're flexible does not mean you have this. But if you are in pain, and you notice that your body sublimates or moves out of position easily, you're always trying to stabilize it. Maybe you feel clumsy, you feel dizzy when you're standing up. Go talk to a doctor. You might have POTS. Like there are these symptoms to pay attention to and talk to a doctor about. But remember, like your primary care physician is probably not going to diagnose this. You're going to have to talk to a rheumatologist or somebody who understands this. And even then, it can be very, very difficult to get a diagnosis because there's not a genetic marker. They can't do a blood test. All they can do is physically examine you. So yeah, I personally don't think it's a good idea to walk in and say, I have EDS, give me a diagnosis. I think it's better to come in with the symptoms, talk about the risks, talk about the scares you have, talk about the pain, let them come in the diagnosis. Because I do think sometimes people diagnose themselves and they get frustrated that the doctor doesn't
mm,
validate that diagnosis. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen 100% of the time. I'd be a little careful forcing one on a doctor when you're convinced that's the case.
mm. Is the Baton scale one of the ways in which people are often diagnosed?
Sadly, it's kind of the only way, right, that I
Right.
know of that is diagnosed because there's not a lot of other ways accepted ways to index hypermobility.
Mm,
They measure, and from that measurement, they know what's in normal range and what's outside of normal range and by how much. I do, when I went to the conferences, I remember all kinds of talk about new ways they're trying to be able to get a more concrete diagnosis for this. And I do believe something's coming, but that would be a great, like maybe someone from the EDS community, like one of the doctors or something, could come on and talk about that sometimes because there does seem to be always really exciting things coming, but I'm still waiting for the breakthrough. I'd love to know, is it practical in my lifetime or not?
yeah, it's interesting because I do use the Baton scale with all my clients just to see their
Nice.
level of systemic mobility. Um, fortunately, well, I say fortunately, I score 0 on the Baton scale.
Mm,
Um, and it's interesting because um, I'm a teacher for the Czech Institute, and we teach our students to use the Baton scale. And it's quite interesting when you first teach it because you're going through all the
mm.
different points, and every time someone gets a point in class, they're all excited because they're getting a point, and then I have to kind of shatter their illusions at the end and explain to them what the numbers actually mean. So, when someone's standing there, oh, I got a 7 out of 9. And I'm like, okay, let me tell you what the numbers mean.
Yeah.
Um, but is there a number that kind of suggests, okay, so you said you're an 8 out of 9 on the Bates scale. Is there kind of a number that kind of says, if you said it, okay, 8 or 9, then that might suggest EDS, or lower, probably haven't got it. Did you know, is there a number? Is there a
I
cutoff?
actually don't know what the pinnacle number is. I think that's what you're asking. I'm not
Mm,
sure what that is. I do know, talking to other people, I've talked to people who are nines, I've talked to people who are like threes and fours. And what I have noticed is that everyone has serious pain, regardless of their number.
mm,
So I don't think the number correlates with how much pain you're in. I think it's literally just how bendy your joints are. I think like the body knows something's wrong, regardless if you're kind of bendy versus super bendy. Like either way, you're dealing with the tissue pain. So that's a great question. Sorry, I don't know the answer to the
Mm.
specific number.
Yeah. I mean, with clients and with students, I generally see people, I'm going to say between 6 and 0,
Mm.
most people. And then, I always have to explain, well, to clients and students, I guess, a lower number is better,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you think of a joint, so say that's like a knee joint, and you got hypermobility, there's
yeah,
more movement, right?
right.
So now you've got friction in a joint,
And more
yeah,
the muscle has to stabilize.
yeah, but you're going to get more wear and tear in the structural tissues, right?
Yeah,
It might be cartilage, might be ligaments, might be the actual bone itself.
right.
So the higher the score, the more likely you're going to experience some injury and or pain at some
And I don't
point.
even know how accurate the scores are. I don't like everyone's going to different rheumatologists. So someone telling me their score. I don't know if their score is apples to apples with my score. I have
Mm,
no idea. All I know is my body is constantly working to keep my joints from, hyperextending
mm,
all the time, and that's very real. And and I think what people understand is me sitting at a desk all day is almost more painful than me going for a long walk. Like just sitting is extremely painful. That's why airplanes are terrible. Like I could do a short flight, no problem. But if I had to do like a 24-hour flight, I will need an entire 12-hour period to recover from that. And that's why we plan our trips. We always have a recovery time.
yeah. It genuinely frustrates me how many people are told their pain is in their head or just age. Pain isn't random and it always has causes. One of the most overlooked is diet. Everyday foods quietly trigger inflammation and keep people stuck. When you remove those triggers, pain often improves faster than expected. The Pain Free Plate shows you 7 foods that support healing. And you can download it now at bodycheck.co.uk/pain-free-plate. All right, let's continue with the episode. Yeah, I mean, long trips for me aren't particularly comfortable.
Mm.
Um, I've flown from London to San Diego multiple times. It's never pleasant. It's never pleasant. Being your body's not. First of all,
Yeah,
human body isn't designed to sit.
for sure.
You know, years and years ago, and even if you go and see people that are still living in the natural environment, they squat,
Mm.
right? But most people in the Western world, they're not even able to squat, right? Um, going to the toilet. We would have squatted years ago, and if you go to the Middle East, that's like they still squat, right? But in the Western world, we sit on a seat that's quite high up. It doesn't actually help with things like bowel movements,
My
you know.
body definitely thinks there's something wrong with it. I know that.
Yeah,
It
but
tells me as much.
going back to the Baton scale again, you know, two of the measurements is how far you can hyperextend the elbows, how far you can hyperextend the knees, and again, it says you get a point
Mm.
if you can hyperextend by more than 10 degrees.
Yeah,
It's like, well, is it 10 degrees? Like, are you going to physically measure it?
yeah,
Um, and sometimes, if you want to get your thumb to your wrist, I mean, look how far away I am from my wrist.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what if you're a millimeter away? Is that a point or is it half a point? It's a little, there's still some level of subjectivity even within an objective test.
Yeah, I just
Um,
remember my doctor being very impressed that I could have pretty much already almost touch my arm.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he had the doctor. I remember this really clearly. They had a book that photos of the ways they wanted you to extend your different yourself, and then the range of measurements to take. And he was writing them all down and scoring them and all that stuff. And yeah, he was very confident um, that was at the top. And the second doctor was a much younger doctor, and I remember thinking he was not as thorough, but still came to the conclusion that it's a top score there. So I don't know what that means. It doesn't change anything, honestly.
Mm,
Like if they had said no, you don't have this, I still would be living with dislocations and pain all the time and no real treatment. Like that's the main point is the label matters because it can matter for insurance reasons. Like, you need to get pre-authorizations to get coverage for stuff. That's horrible that people can't get access to any treatment because they can't get a diagnosis for the thing they're obviously suffering with.
Mm.
That is real. And I honestly hope more awareness like this helps because, we shouldn't allow people to suffer like this because this life is hard living like this. Like I said, we can't travel. It's harder to work. It's harder, like having a conversation. I can have a conversation with my kids and my heart is in it. And I feel like it's the happiest moment in my life, but it's always with that rain cloud all the time. That sucks. It's like being cursed.
Mm. Mm.
Not fun.
Yeah, the Baton scale can be important for someone like myself if I'm designing an exercise program for someone. If someone scores a 0, like I score on the Baton scale,
Yeah.
I know I'm going to need to give them a lot more stretching type exercises, full range of motion,
To get that motion.
even strength exercises. I might want them to go through a specific range of motion, like, for the hamstrings, for instance, there's a Romanian deadlift exercise. As you go down, you might want them to get it to hold at the bottom for a period of time because you're then stretching and strengthening the hamstrings at the same time. But then if someone's got a high score on the Baton scale, I'm more likely to be very, very careful when it comes to any kind of stretching and probably have minimal amounts of stretching and only for very specific parts of the body. And then if I'm getting to do strength work, it's going to be for a very limited range of motion to try and strengthen the muscles around the joints. So from that perspective, the Baton scale is quite important. But I understand your point. It's like it doesn't really change anything for you just because you get 8 out of 9 on a test score, right? The reality,
it didn't give me better insurance coverage. It didn't give me more validation and nothing like that.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything, right? It's just confirming the obvious in your case.
Yeah. Like the stretching thing is interesting though, because when I played American football, I remember we'd always have to stretch before we do anything and just how stupid easy it was. And when it didn't do anything for me to stretch, I never felt like it. So it was like, why are we doing this? And then it's like, after getting the diagnosis, like, don't stretch. If you're going to do anything, don't stretch. And so like my whole life, I was always doing all these sports and always doing this stretching. And the whole time I probably shouldn't have been doing that at all. So it just redefines the way you see everything.
One thing I think often gets missed with cases like this is how best can partners, family members, friends, or even practitioners support someone living with EDS, either, without either dismissing their experience or even overprotecting them.
Wow. I mean, honestly, this is probably the toughest thing that we could talk about because I think when I talk to people in the community, some people have like their partner has it, so they both have it. And honestly, that almost sounds kind of nice. It's like they kind of both get it and they don't have to communicate as hard and they just kind of give each other that space and that grace and everything. I think like when I first got diagnosed, my wife was just amazing. She's just like leaned into it. It was like, let's heat your hands. Let's get you to sit. And she was always kind of starting to stop me from doing stuff to the point where it was annoying me. Like, I need to go fix this. Like, let me go fix this. Let me mow the yard. No, just, couldn't do anything. It's almost like leaned in a little too hard even. But then it just like stopped. I think like it probably dawned like, oh my gosh, this is forever. Like I can't like cater to him like this forever. And so it kind of just dried up quickly. And I think like at first, like there's a little resentment I built to that. Like, whoa, do you not care at all? Like I'm really struggling here, not checking in, you never ask. And so then there was almost this dance that had to happen, right? Now communication's everything. So looking back, with some more maturity and hindsight, like I should have probably said, look, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I need. This is how we should come together here. That didn't happen, sadly. So, maybe some resentment and stuff. And then I kind of withdrew dealt with a lot of depression, a lot of issues. And sadly, my son got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, like right at that time. And that became her laser focus and all of our
Mm,
laser focus. He was 11. He was going through a life-changing thing there.
mm,
So it's like, next medical crisis, let's go deal with that. But it didn't mean that my thing stopped. And so I had to figure out how to deal with it for myself. I had to put my own barriers up. I had to check on myself. I had to be okay with that. And I think when I tried to get support from other people, like friends, it was just too hard for them. I think it was like they kind of showed a little curiosity, but they didn't really know how to support. At least I don't know how it is for you, but American men are not great at supporting American men with tough stuff. This is my experience, my lived experience. I'm sorry if an American man's hearing this and going, "I'm great at it. I wish I was your buddy," but in my experience, that has not been how it's gone. And so you lean on yourself. And I learned how to do that. Now I'm better at communicating. My wife is able to, I'll tell her, I want to push myself like this. And she'll go, okay, I trust you. Or, hey, why don't you take care of yourself like this? Take the heat pad on this trip or something, and I'll do it. And usually she's right. So, you end up building that trust, that support, that understanding, and it's a journey. But you do have to realize, I think, as the supporting person, the person with Ehlers-Danlos, they don't know. They're just going through hell. They don't know what they need. They're probably just grappling with the sense that it just sucks to be in their body. If it was a magic solution, like a hot bath or something, great, but it's not like that.
mm,
So, you have to have patience and understanding and know that it will, over time, come to terms with it. And if you can support them through that and get them to communicate with you when they're ready to communicate, once they figure it out, you can come together on it. But you have to, I think, be patient with it. I don't think it can happen overnight.
mm. And it must be tough. It must be tough for those close to you as well,
Yeah.
because they don't know what to do either,
Oh,
right?
my kids had no idea I had chronic pain. I hid it from them completely. They would see you could see it on my face. You could see that I would limp if I was doing too much activity, or that I was stuck on the couch because I pushed myself too hard. They'd see that stuff. They just thought that was normal because they just grew up with their dad, right? Like, oh, that's what dad happens to dads. It
Mm,
wasn't until later they start getting a frame of reference. They go, oh, what was going on? And I remember when there were a couple of years when I was really bad, I would use marijuana in the evening at the end of the night, just before bed. They had no idea. And they found out one time we were on a trip or in California. My wife's like, well, yeah, they smelled marijuana somewhere. They were younger kids, like 11 and 13. And my wife goes, well, your dad used to do that. And they were like, what? Blew their minds. It's like, yeah, he's in pain all the time. He was doing it for pain. Like, what? I blew their mind too. So, we talked to them about it. They were about at the age where we could kind of explain it to them, and which is important because one or both of them might deal with it as well. I can't hide that stuff. You got to talk to them when it's appropriate. But, I try not to burden anybody. That's my goal. Try to carry it, try to handle it. But I want to help people because I know, a 16-year-old who gets this diagnosis might feel their whole life is destroyed.
mm,
I I was completely living in ignorance until I was in my 20s. At least I got to around 24. So I got maybe got a little longer than someone else did. But now that the awareness is going up, people are coming to terms with it sooner. There's a lot more information on the internet about it. People are getting it right in their face like a fire hose. It can be very overwhelming to get this diagnosis.
mm. What would your advice be to medical practitioners that are helping people with EDS?
Do the research. It's just seriously, so many doctors I go and talk to, they'll either act like they know about this because they talked to one other person that had it, or they went to one conference, or they were at some conference and some guy there mentioned it, or they looked it up on the internet or something. Just actually try to go figure it out. So much time I spent trying to educate Now, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying I'm smarter than doctors. I just did some work and I just presented. I literally would hand over like papers and stuff I'd find. I'd be like, I think this would be helpful. And luckily, I have good doctors. They're willing to go and look at it, talk about it afterwards. We have schedule up appointments, but I know not every doctor does that. And now doctors have less and less time to do that kind of thing. But
Mm,
if you're not going to have the time to do it, please don't. I would just say, don't act like you understand it because it comes off very dismissive.
mm,
Like if you don't have time to help someone with this life changing thing, this life destroying thing, maybe refer them to somebody else.
mm.
That's what I would add. I would ask.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Obviously, I work with a lot of people in pain, and the thing I hear the most, because most people don't come to me first. They've been around, they've been around, you know, doctor to doctor.
Mm,
The thing that I hear the most is my doctor doesn't understand. They don't listen
mm,
to me. They they try and tell me what I should do.
mm.
But most people, first of all, just want to be heard,
Yeah, I think it's
right?
true.
And that,
Especially when you're going through something horrible. Yeah,
yeah, and in a way, that's what I've tried to do today. I've tried to understand
it's
more
great.
about EDS because it's not something I've looked into before. I'm aware of it and kind of know roughly what it is,
Yeah.
but I've never heard anyone's story before. And I think as a practitioner, sometimes I can be in a consultation with someone and I'm thinking, wow, for the last 20 minutes, I've not said a word,
Mm,
right? And I think it's partly a male thing because, as males, we like to fix things, right? That's a very male trait. And sometimes I think, but what value am I adding right now? Because I'm not contributing to the conversation. But then
mm.
I have to catch myself and go, no, you're doing exactly the right thing because you're listening.
Yeah.
You're
You asked great questions and you were listening. I think that's an undervalued trait.
yeah. I actually last year I held a focus group for people in pain, and again, it's so that I understand more, right? And I understand what people are going through. But
Yeah.
what was quite interesting is that the people in the group, I think I had 6 or 7 people. They all said, "Wow, this was amazing. This is the first time anyone's took any time to really listen to what we're going through. Can we do it again next month?" Is what they said.
It's their therapy.
Um, and I was kind of like, "Well, yeah, this wasn't really the kind of the point." And it cost me quite a lot of money to do it. Um, and I'm not just going to keep doing that every month. But
Sure.
you know, I think sometimes and it's been shown as well that when people are going through difficult conditions, just to have people in the same situation as them and being able to share their own story actually improves healing.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think that's right.
um, I'm not saying it's gonna solve EDS, but it's nice to have that level of understanding and appreciation from other people. And something like EDS, I can't empathize because I can empathize, but
Yeah.
I can't understand what you're going through. I can try and understand, but unless you've lived that experience, you don't really know. So to have other people around you that are going through the same thing can be quite therapeutic for some people.
I also think that a lot of people's first experience is going to be with that clinician, that doctor, um, and they're grappling with something, and it's hard, and it almost might require real therapy, and that in, interaction is setting a tone. It's really defining the next phase, and if the doctor is making dismissive statements or leading them in an area that they think is like not going to be helpful or productive, like, yeah, just go meditate or something. Like that's just going to just really hurt more than normal. I think it's not
Mm,
like just going in with like a toothache, right? You're going in and dealing with something that's core to your identity. it's like part of who you are and your lived experience. So I do think that reaction really matters almost more than it might in some other cases, but some doctors miss that. Um, and again, I do think it's hard to, as a pro doctor, right? Like you have someone coming in and telling you they have this thing and, you know, maybe you know something about it and it doesn't look like you might think it looks, or, maybe this is someone who's just, it's all invisible. Like, what are you really looking for? It can be really hard and there's no easy nail to hit. But I do think like, for this, we have to take it, you have to like just believe people. Like no one's going to make up living with a condition like this. Like why? What benefit do you get out of trying to say, I want to live, like I live with something like this? Is it pain meds? Is that what they're going for? Well, they could pick something else. Why this one? Like if they're hypermobile and they're dealing with this, it's probably because, it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck. But yeah, I just tell you, like I was talking to the community before this and I said, hey, well, what would you like represented here? And a resounding support for this issue about doctors. It was the number one issue. Out of all the other stuff, and there was some great stuff, but that was it. They all said, look, I like that has to improve. This is so misunderstood. People just don't understand this condition. I'm mistreated. My family mistreats me. My doctor mistreats me. And it makes something that's already hell all that much worse. So I say, like, please, like if someone is living with this, please try to give them some grace and some love.
Yeah, from a practitioner point of view, I think, what you were saying is either research it more or refer to someone else who has. And I would say from a position of a practitioner, probably the most important thing is to listen.
Yeah, I like that.
Awesome. Daniel, this has been a great conversation. What's next for you?
I'm living my best life right now, which is probably not what people would expect to hear considering everything we talked about. But I'm out there helping people. That's what I do. I retired young and now I teach financial literacy free online and in my state. And so I'm continuing to do that. I'm just finishing up a degree as a wealth manager just so I can have the credentials. I'm going to a conference next month. I'm writing a new book, continuing my travels. It's not easy, but I want to travel. I feel like I put a lot of that on the back burner and I got in shape. So, hey, it's time to go out there and live my life before I'm too old to be able to do any of this, because I know my age is going to bedrid me. I will not be able to do this stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going out there and trying to help people and live my best life right now.
And when are you moving to Florida?
I'm not moving to Florida necessarily. There's some politics there, but no, I definitely will travel. The conference is in Florida. If I'll find a warm place, I will somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a good move. And if people want to learn more about your work or EDS in general, where's the best place to send people?
If you want to learn about me, you can go to escapetheclock.com. I have a podcast. If you're interested in my journey and what I'm teaching, escapetheclock.com. Tons of free stuff there. If for EDS, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I will happily send you anything you need, including medical journals, notes, anything that I haven't collected. Otherwise, I recommend you join the Ehlers-Danlos subreddit. It's a good community. A lot of people there are really active, supporting each other. It's a great place to start to just ask questions from people who are actually going through the lived experience. So the Ehlers-Danlos subreddit.
Awesome. Great stuff. Daniel, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and hopefully it's going to at least help one person who might be going through EDS.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for asking such great questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. So that's it for this week from Daniel and me. But be sure to tune in, same time, same place, next week on Beyond the Pain. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pain. If this episode resonated, please follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone you know who's been struggling. And remember, pain is not permanent. With the right insights and support, you can turn it into power. Until next time, stay open, stay strong, and keep moving beyond the pain.